consistent. So I think, yeah, these are the two major um, differences or costs that I think they're important ones.
Mhm. So, I mean, essentially, I guess what that's going to unlock for teams is efficiency and consistency, if we were to boil it down to two things.
Yeah, it's definitely going to, at one point, it's or in one way, it's going to bring in a bit of ease as well for
Mhm.
brands. So let's say if a brand already has a brand library set up, they don't have to kind of give their logos or style references or any of these references or visual references again and again. And also, it brings up that very granular control on the brand library as well. Okay, I don't want to use the brand document, but I just want to use the brand tone and
Yep.
just the brand knowledge, or maybe neither of those, or maybe all of those. So it also brings that granular control on the each of the message level, or each of the node level for workflows. So I think, yeah, these two things would be on top of the consistency and the quality. Yeah.
Mhm. So, consistency, efficiency, quality, brand. There's so much that this can help with.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's dig in a little bit more. We've left something very obvious out of the way. What is a mini form in pencil?
Yeah, I think I can definitely like explain it a bit more from the base now. So let's say as a user, you're trying to talk to an image generation agent, you're trying to kind of use a node, I don't know, for within workflows to generate an image, video, or any piece of content. So mini forms is that, just by the name of it, it's that attached mini form with any node, with any agent chat to define, okay, what are the visual references that I want to have. So let's say I've uploaded four of the images as the attachments. I can now define, okay, this one is a logo, this one is a style. I want to use this as a structure reference only. Um, and maybe the fourth one is just a general reference that I can use it in any other specific way as well. So it brings that part for users to attach visual references, and not just attach because that was already there as an attachment. Instead, define the type as well. So that
Right.
gives the chat itself or the agent or the node more control. And then it's not only dependent or only limited to the visual references. It's about text references as well. And the text reference, majorly when I say it, it's about the content coming from the brand library, like brand knowledge, brand tone, brand documents. And it's that granular control for user that, okay, in this chat, I want to, let's say, generate a social media post for my brand, and it has this logo, this style reference, or this should be the style, and it should only bring in the brand knowledge and brand tone, not the brand documents, because I don't want to use them in this one specific instance of a chat. So it's basically control for user. And sorry, I missed on two major things, which is for images it could be aspect ratios, for videos it can be duration as well, because you want to keep a kind of consistent duration. And then all of this would be driven by, on an agent level, all of this would be driven by what's available in the tooling part. So let's say if I have an image generation tool or text to image tool, so the form would have all the parameters related to that. And if it has video generation, let's say tool added, the form would automatically get updated. And for image and video, it would be a separate one. But yeah, like this is what really Miniform is. It's more of an attachment with the chat itself or with the node to make sure that the references that are going in are more defined very specifically by the type.
Hmm. Perfect. I cannot wait for this to launch. This is going to make every element of my prompting so much easier. What would you think are the most important things then to consider when designing an effective mini form? Like, what are the absolute most important inputs to consider?
I think how I've kind of touched on the visual references and text references. So I would say definitely these two. And then within the visual references, there comes this part of aspect ratios, because I think that's where some models start to play around. even when you're trying to kind of keep it consistent in the generation. Because let's say Nano Banana uses the attached images aspect ratio to kind of give an output aspect ratio, but it doesn't kind of follow it. But if you then define it very specifically in the form, so that's where um, it would be very important. And then similarly for the text as well, considering that granular control on what do I want to bring from my brand library, would be the, yeah, I think these two.
Mhm. And I guess some of this is about putting in place guardrails, but one of the joys of AI is the creativity and flexibility of outputs. So how do we think teams and users are going to find the right balance between maintaining that wonderful flexibility and creativity, but also having the guardrails they need in place?
Yeah, so as I think as I've mentioned, this is more of like the form with the chat or with the node, and then this comes with the literally an option to disable the visual references in the form. Because let's consider a case where I want there are two cases. One, I want it to be very rigid. This is the logo, this is the style. Whatever I
Yep.
generate, they should have this as a reference. But the second is maybe I'm generating an agent, let's say, within the chat, and I come up with the final image or the, I don't know, V1 of the image that I like, and everything is good. Just the color is not the best, and I just want to kind of maybe change the color from green to red or whatever, and I don't want then references to be there, but I just want to say, okay, change the color of the generated image to maybe, I don't know, green or something, whatever. So in that case, this flexibility, there needs to be flexibility for agent, let's say, to pick that up from the chat as a generated output that I did earlier and not consider the form. So that's where the other case comes in, where just disable the visual references, or disable the text references and talk with whatever is in the context of the chat, or whatever the generation has been done within the chat. So it's going to give this two perspectives: one very rigid one with complete guardrails, and then second, a mix and match as well. Let's say maybe you want to have a visual image from the chat, but you still want to have brand knowledge incorporated, you can do that. So I think these would be the two different perspective on how it's going to let users have very specific guardrails or be little open with all the playground in it itself.
Perfect. Um, and then just thinking about consistency within a team. So we've talked guardrails. How would you suggest that teams implement standards for the way that they create mini forms?
Yeah, I think for teams, I think one example, the first point could be within the brand library, we are bringing this option of setting a default logo and a
Mhm.
default, let's say, style reference. And that's where the team or the workspace level perspective comes in, where there could be multiple variants of the logos. There could be different style references, but I want, okay, this to be the default one, which if any new user comes in or any new one of the user from the team comes in, they have that pre-filled default logo, default style there. They don't
Mhm.
have to kind of worry on, okay, how to kind of keep the consistency. And then on top of this, how I mentioned earlier, that once somebody is creating the agent itself, they're adding all the tooling that, okay, I want to, let's say, add an image generation tool or video generation tool. And then based on the models selected within those tools, it's going to define how the inputs of that form or the parameters of that form are going to kind of behave. And that's where the teams can always, like, I think internally creative team is also doing this, that for in a specific use case they create an agent, validate, make it perfect enough, and then team kind of goes in and start to use that same agent to kind of get their work done. So I think, yeah, this is how it's going to kind of do it for all the clients as well. They can build the agent based on the model, based on the tooling added, the form would behave, and also the default logo and style coming in for any new team members coming in and kind of trying to generate with the agents or nodes or any, I think, in any way um, where the input forms are available.
Perfect. In terms then of what needs to go into starting use of mini forms, I think there's definitely going to be a bit of a behavioral shift, a different way that teams have to cooperate with each other, collaborate with each other. Um, what are some of the top things that a team should be working on in order to develop their own ability to use forms?
I think specifically, I think figuring out which models are the best for which cases. So, for example, I think team and then the clients working on the generations, they pretty much already know, and we have this best available model perspective as well. But even then, knowing that okay, maybe Nano Banana is good with any kind of references, it supports up to let's say 14 references, and you can give it, I don't know, four logos, four styles, and it would still come up with something. Like definitely the consistency and all that, it depends upon how you configure the form itself. But any um, I would not say old models, but old family of models, let's say Imagine 4 or Imagine 3, they're very consistent with one reference or some not even supporting the reference. And let's say Firefly only supports one style reference, one structure reference. So it doesn't have that much of a flexibility. So it's definitely, or it would definitely be for teams to figure out, okay, these are the set of, or that's a use, the specific use case that they want to achieve. This is a set of models that are able to kind of let them use the form in more powerful way, and then eventually kind of going around it. So I think that would be a very important piece of information for anybody kind of then figuring out the forms with or in conjunction to the models or the tooling itself.
Perfect. And then alongside this behavioral change element, there's definitely planning and governance element to this. I mean, I've noticed some of the early adopters of Agent Builder have been most successful when they've been really intentional about what agents they're building, who is building agents, how they're rolling them out. On that kind of note, how do we suggest that teams avoid sprawl and duplication in the way that they produce their mini forms?
Yeah, I think so. Just a I think note for everybody watching as well, and then definitely for users going to who are going to use the form itself. So form is going to stay on a session level, so that let's say if I have an agent and let's say two people are talking at once, definitely they'll have all the set defaults, but I want to use it for one case
Mhm.
where I want it to, I don't know, maybe use it want to use structure reference to generate something, and then the other team member wants to use I don't know, style reference or logo eventually. So form is one on the session level. So I think that would not directly go clearly hand in hand with the form and agent builder. But the question that you have asked, I think it's more of a consistency on that agent builder level.
Right.
Team
Yeah.
build going out, building the agent, and then using that in conjunction with the form to kind of then serve either different use cases or kind of keep it consistent if they kind of have to just go with the default ones.
So we're really thinking about how the whole ecosystem of the Pencil Marketing OS works together.
Yeah.
So let's think about a couple of months down the line, everything is launched and we've got some early adopters in place. A really successful client team, what could be possible for them with really good use of custom agents, workflows, and mini forms all together?
Yeah. So I think the best kind of use case would be, let's say a team already has a use case figured out, and then going ahead building a very specific agents with specific set of tooling, even the first party and third party, validating it out and then finalize it. Okay, this agent performs how we want it to be and generates the content how we want it. That would ideally be the at that first stage, dependent on the use case, and then the users of those agents are going to come in, and on the each session level, they're going to kind of have very consistent outputs or set up the consistent outputs using the mini form, um, and then eventually delivering the results. And I think this is you've definitely mentioned about more just the custom agents and the mini form, but I'll link in the workflows as well, and the other features. So it's more about, depending on the use case, maybe they want to build a very specific custom agent, and then take it to the workflows, build a nodal flow, and use that custom agent as one of the node, and
Mhm.
that custom agent node eventually using these mini form inputs itself. Like, okay, I want to very specifically use brand tone, not the knowledge and not the document. So it's that combination of workflows, agent builder, mini form, and eventually, I think, I don't know, we have talked about the brief mode or not, but I think once that is there, so it's that could be the initial point where it could automatically go to the workflows, using a custom agent with mini forms to eventually kind of give out an early output based on the brief that's coming in. So I think all the pieces could be connected very differently, but yeah, I think they all can be connected to kind of get to a final output way efficiently and like way consistently.
Perfect. It's a really exciting future state. And I don't know if anyone in the audience noticed, but as Ali was talking about bringing all of these tools together, the sun literally started shining here. It was perfect. So I'm going to give you just one last pitch to our audience, Ali. So if there were just three takeaways from this session, three things to be excited about mini forms for, what would those be?
I think definitely expecting more consistent outputs once the miniform is configured correctly. That's one. Second, definitely having more quality with less of an effort so that you don't have to kind of give it again and again. Oh no, I want it in this way. Oh no, I want it in this way kind of
Yep.
situation. And I think lastly, it would be a really good, and I think we've already mentioned it a lot, but it would be a very good conjunction to kind of serve the use case and like and save the time on it, along with the effort and the to and fro between the final results that you just want to achieve itself.
Perfect. That was really enlightening. I am very excited for mini forms to launch. Before we wrap up, as I always do, I'm just going to give a big shout out to our fantastic enablement services at Pencil. There will be a wealth of content coming on mini forms, from blog articles to playbooks to videos to live sessions, helping our users to really get to grips with this shift in usage quickly. Anything that you want to access to help you with any of our Marketing OS launches can be found at community.trypencil.com. And then finally, thank you everyone for joining, and especially thank you, Ali, for joining us and giving us such a great overview of mini forms.
Thank you so much for having me and excited for everything.